Today's lesson is on graphing ordered pairs. As usual, there is a video guide that you can print off and follow along with. If you haven't printed that off already, go ahead and pause the video, print the video guide, and then come back. So we are graphing ordered pairs. Before we get started with how to graph, we need to go over a few terms and make sure you know all the terminology for graphing. The first term I want to talk about is the coordinate plane. Now, most of us know that as just the basic graph. If we say to graph something, you can visualize what the coordinate plane is without calling it that technical term, but you should know it anyway. And a coordinate plane is a flat surface that goes on forever. I like to think of it as like a big sheet of paper. There's no thickness to a coordinate plane, it's just flat. Okay, so again, I think of a piece of paper, but it goes on forever, so it's a ginormous one. That's what these arrows represent, that it goes on forever in these directions. Okay, but again, there's no thickness, just like there's no thickness to a piece of paper. Okay, so that's the coordinate plane. The graph, that's what we are going to be graphing the ordered pairs on. Okay, now there are two axes. You can see them. They are the darker lines that go through the middle of our graph. Okay, the x-axis is the horizontal axis. Okay, so x is always going across. Now, the way that I remember that, which this may seem silly, but I always think of X as being like no, like don't do that. And making the X, and when you say no, we like shake our head back and forth, back and forth. Well, X is going back and forth, left and right. Okay, so just like you shake your head from left to right, say no, that's the X. Okay, no. So it's always going horizontal. The Y-axis is then the vertical axis. And so to help me remember this one, I think of Y, and I think that the word yes starts with Y. And when we say yes, we nod our heads up and down, like yes, that's right. So the Y-axis is always going up and down. Okay, so if you forget, think about X being no, and that means shake your head left to right, so it means the horizontal, left to right. Y is like nodding our heads up and down, okay, like yes. So that's going up and down. That's the vertical axis. Okay? So those are our two axes, X and Y. Now, where they meet, right here, the very middle of the graph, okay, is called the origin. Okay? It's the exact middle. And it's always 0. Okay, so this is 0. For X and for Y, that is just 0. Okay? It's the exact center. And it's called the origin. And we always, when we are graphing ordered pairs, this is where we're going to be starting at. So if you think of the origin, like when you're defining a word, or even with people, we'll say that they originated from, or they came from, they started at. Origin means start, okay? So our origin, the exact middle, is where we are going to start when we graph our ordered pairs. That's always our starting point, okay? And then last but not least is the what we're graphing today, ordered pair. And an ordered pair is just the directions for plotting individual points. So you'll notice there are a bunch of different places where I could put points along this graph here, just random spots that we could place points at. These different points all have different ordered pairs, okay? They all have different directions on how to plot them, okay? And so we're gonna go over what those directions mean, how to write them, and so forth, okay? for example, if I wanted to tell you how to get to this ordered pair, I could verbally say, okay, you need to start at the origin, count to the right 2 places, so I could write down, I can say right 2, then count down 1, 2, 3, down 3. But if I had a lot of points that I wanted you to graph, this would get very tiresome very quickly, okay? So somebody a long time ago came up with a shorthand way of writing this, all right? So here's what they did. On the graph, they determined that for the x-axis, it works just like a number line. So for a number line, 0 is usually in our middle, in the very middle. As you move to the right, the numbers get bigger and they are positive. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, so forth, okay? These are all positive numbers and they just keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger, okay? As you move to the left, they get smaller and they are negative numbers, okay? So starting with 0, this would be -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, -6, and so forth. Again, these go on forever. These arrows represent that this is going on forever to the left and forever to the right. Okay, so we've got positives to the right, negatives to the left. For the y-axis, it's again like a number line, but it's turned so that it's up and down, okay? So as you go up, you're getting bigger, and they're bigger and bigger positive numbers. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and again, these are all positive numbers going up. Up is positive. Down is negative, and they just keep getting smaller and smaller and smaller. So -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, -6, so forth. It just keeps going, and these are all negative numbers. Okay? And it's all in relation to the origin. Everything starts with the origin. Okay? So that's where we go from. Now, from this, all these numbers, positives, negatives, and so forth, they came up with the way that they write their ordered pairs is in parentheses, okay? There are 2 coordinates, one telling you to go left or right, the other telling you to go up or down, okay? So when you're doing this, left or right number goes first, so we call that the x coordinate because that's how many you have to either count to the left or to the right. So the x coordinate comes first. The y coordinate is always second, and that tells you how many to count up or down, okay? So if they want you to move left, they will use a negative number because negative numbers are to the left. If they want you to move right, they would use a positive number because positive numbers are to the right. For the y coordinate, if they want you to count up, it will be positive because positive numbers are up. And if the y coordinate is negative, it means they want you to count down because when you go down, it's negative numbers, okay? Now the way that I remember the order is just that it's alphabetical. So alphabetical order. X comes before y in the alphabet, so X comes before y in our coordinate. That's the best way I know of to remember which one is which. So that was a lot of just terms, but that's the basics for graphing. And now we're actually going to graph some ordered pairs together. Okay, do you want to pause it for a second? So our next sheet, there are several points that we need to graph. And actually they've been plotted for us. We just need to figure out what letter goes along with which point. So for number 1, our coordinates are -1, -1. Remember the first coordinate is the x coordinate, the second coordinate is our y. Always start at the origin. So if I start here, my x coordinate is a -1. Remember negative numbers are to the left, so that means count left 1 place. The y coordinate is also -1. Negative numbers for the y values are down, so I count down 1 place, and that point is F. So the answer for number 1 is F. For number 2, our point is +3, -4. So to graph that, start at the origin. count to the right 3. It's right because the x-coordinate is positive 3, so right 1, 2, 3 places. The y-coordinate is a negative 4, which means we count down 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. That point is point U, so we just put U for number 2. Number 3, our coordinates are negative 9, 8. The x is negative 9, which means we would count to the left 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 places. The y coordinate is a positive 8, which means we go up 8 places. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So our point is point B. So B is the answer for number 3. Number 4, our x coordinate is negative 8. Our y coordinate is positive 5. So we would go left 8. And then positive 5 means we count up 5 places, and you should get to point O from there. At this point, go ahead and pause the video, try the last 4 problems on your own, and then come back and check your answer. Our answers for number 5, we had coordinates 5, 3. Those are both positive, so that means you would count right 5, up 3. The answer should be point R. For number 6, both negative coordinates, so that means we would count left 7, then down 6. Point B should be your answer for number 6. Number 7, x is negative, y is positive, so x being negative means left 7, y is positive, up 8. You should get point X as your answer. And lastly, number 8, negative 4, negative 7, that means to the left 4, then down 7. Point A is your answer for. For our next set of problems, they have given us each point and we have to write the coordinates. So the first thing we need to do is identify where point K is located, and it's down here to the bottom right. Remember, to figure out the coordinates or to use the coordinates, we always start at the origin. Now, the x coordinate comes first, so I like to count that first. I need to go to the right this time, which means positive numbers. I need to go right 3 places before I'm right above the K. So that means our x coordinate will be a positive 3. From there, we need to count down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 places. Going down is negative, so that's a negative 8. So my coordinates would be positive 3, negative 8. For M, let's locate M. M is right here. Again, we need our 2 coordinates, x and y. Always start at the origin. This time we have to count to the left. So I'm going to count left 1, 2, 3, 4. Remember, left means negative. So this is a negative 4 for the x coordinate. I then need to count up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 places. So this is a positive 7. And that would be my answer, negative 4, 7. For point E, is right here. Again, start at the origin. Always count left or right first. To get to point E, I have to go left again. So I'm going to count to the left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 places. And then I'm above the E. So that's going to be a negative 9 because we went left 9. And then to get to E, I have to go down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 places. Going down is also negative. So that should be a negative 6. Negative 9, negative 6 is the answer for number 11. And then number 12, point L is located right here. So to get to point L, the first thing I need to do is go to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 places to the right. So that would be a positive 5. And then I have to count down. 1, 2, 3, 4 places. So that would be 4 places down, which is a negative 4. So 5, negative 4 is our coordinates for point L. At this time, go ahead and pause the video, count out the last 4 points, and then restart it to check your answers. For number 13, your answer should be negative 4, 2. Point C is right here. You would have to count left 4, which is why it's negative, up 2, and that's why the 2 is positive. For number 14, point G is located down here in the lower left. You would have to count left 9 places, down 9 places. That is why both 9s are negative. For number 15, this one was a little tricky, okay? T is located on the y-axis, which makes it a little bit different. We actually did not move to the left or to the right. Whenever that happens, it is a 0 for the x-coordinate. If you don't go left, you don't go right, you have moved 0 places from the origin, so 0 is the number that we would use. We then had to count down 5 to get to t, so that's the -5 for the y-coordinate. And lastly, point y, we got 6, 5. You needed to count to the right, 6, up 5, so +6, +5 should be your solution. For our last section, you are given the letter and the coordinates. You then have to plot the point yourself. So let's take a look at number 17. Our point is Q. The coordinates are -3, -1. Again, always, always, always start at the origin. -3 means count to the left 1, 2, 3 places. -1 means go down 1 place. This is where we would plot point Q. I will put the dot and the letter so that we know that is point Q. For number 18, we have point I, and the coordinates are 9, 4. +9, +4. Start at the origin. Positive numbers for the x-coordinate means count to the right. 9 places. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. +4 for the y means go up. So we count up. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is my point, and I will label it I. For number 19, point D is at -8, -7. Again, start at the origin. -8 means to the left 8 places. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. -7 means down 7 places. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right here. In the middle of E, B, and G, we have point D. And lastly, number 20, we have point Z, which is at 2, 5. Starting at the origin, a +2 means to the right 2. A +5 means up 2, 3, 4, 5 places. We put our point, and that's point Z. At this time, go ahead and pause the video, work out numbers 21 through 24, and then turn the video back on and check your answers. Alright, so our last problem's 21, point N. To graph it, you needed to go left 5, because it was negative, up 6 because the y-coordinate's positive. Point N should be located there on your graph, near M and O. For 22, point P is at +1, +1. Start at the origin. +1 means to the right, 1. +1 means up 1 for the y's. And we plot our point right here, and that's point P. For point J, number 23, our coordinates are -1, 3. So to graph that, we will start at the origin. -1 means to the left 1. +3 means up 3. 1, 2, 3. That's point J. And the last one, again, that one's a little tricky because of the 0. The x-coordinate is -4, which tells you you should go to the left 4. This time it's the y-coordinate that is 0. If the y-coordinate is 0, it means you do not go up, you do not go down. You plot the point right on the x-axis. So W should be on the x-axis at -4. And that's the end of our lesson on graphing ordered pairs.